and welcome to another episode of FooBar. In today's video, I will show you how to build a full-stack cloud-native application with no cloud knowledge. If you want to know more about serverless, cloud computing, or software engineering practices in general, subscribe to my channel in the red button below. I post videos every week. So let's get started! One of the things I hear a lot is that getting started with AWS is hard. And more if you are not a backend developer or a DevOps person, operations, and you don't have any knowledge on those areas. Usually, full stack developers that are used to building like Node applications or like front-end developers that are building the clients tend to have quite a lot of problems and difficulties when getting started with AWS. During re:Invent this year, there was an announcement that I think was one of the coolest announcements. It was quite under the hood because it was not mentioned in any of the keynotes. That is the Amplify AdminUI. What that means? That means that it's a admin UI for Amplify. If you are familiar with Amplify, you know that it lets you create a full stack application with very little knowledge on the cloud. So using the CLI, you can add authentication, you can add databases and things like that. But still, when you're working with the CLI, you still need to know quite a lot of things from AWS, and also you might need to set up that local environment or that development environment to an AWS account, so you might need to have an AWS account. And that's quite another problem. A lot of organizations that are small might have one operations person or backend developer that knows AWS, but then if they want to allow their full stack developer to collaborate in this application, they need to create an AWS account for them and then limit all the permissions, but then if they limit too much, the developer cannot work. So it's very hard. So AdminUI also tackles that problem. So basically, AdminUI provides a lot of tools that are in a kind of external console with its own username and password. So you can grant access to other persons that are not AWS users. They don't have an AWS account or user in one particular account. Also, that means that those persons don't need to configure their AWS profile in their computer to get working. So that makes it super powerful to have a team of developers, front-end developers or full-stack developers working on the application and its backend, like in the GraphQL, for example, or in the authentication part. There are things that are very proprietary from the client sometimes, and then have the operations person or the backend developer just create this Amplify application and let them handle it. One of the things that Amplify AdminUI offers is a graphic interface. So now you can start working with defining your data model in a nice visual tool, creating your authentication with a visual tool. And this is a new feature, so a lot of the things in this particular launch, they're still on progress. So you will see that the UI is still a little bit incomplete, but it's coming and it's very, very powerful. So I want to show you a demo on how you can get started with this. So there are two ways to get started with Amplify AdminUI. You can start without any account, AWS account whatsoever, start developing and then hook up it to an AWS account, or you can start the other way around. You have an AWS account and you create an Amplify application, and then from there you move to giving access to users that don't have an AWS account. And that's what we are going to do. So I will start here from Amplify, from the management console, and from there we will go forward. So we are in the management console and I go into AWS Amplify and I just create a new application. I will call it restaurant. We are going to do an application that is just displaying a menu. So it's a very simple application, but I can show you a couple of the things that I want to show you. Amplify will start creating the application for us. So I will speed this up until the application is completed. So So then when the application is completed, we can see our backend development and we can see a new button there that says open the admin UI. If we click that button, the admin UI will open. We will do that in a second. And then we can see in the side there is admin UI management. So here is where you can invite users without AWS accounts. So you are the backend developer creating this Amplify app, and then you add your front-end developers in here, and then they will receive an email, a link to get into the admin UI, and from there they can start working in the application without you caring much. So that's pretty neat. So when you invite users, basically you have two types of roles. You just need an email and you can give them permissions of the full access. So those will be your developers, the ones that might want to configure the GraphQL, add authentication and things like that. And then the manage only, that are users that can only edit content, because admin UI also has a content management tool, and that is one of my favorite things, and I will show it as the demo move forward as feature. I will not invite anybody because I will invite myself, but it's a pretty simple thing. You put an email, they will receive an email to confirm that it's okay, and they have to set a password, and woof, they're in the admin UI. So now we are back in our backend environment and we open the admin UI. This is the view that the basically admins, if we invite them, will see. So it's the same. So after it's open, we can see here that it says welcome to restaurant. That's the name of our Amplify application, and staging is the environment. And then we can see the things that we can do. We can set a data model, we can edit the content, we can create users for our application, we can create a login if we want. So we are going to create a new data model, and we can decide what kind of authentication we want for that API. This will create the database, it will create the API for us. So this is GraphQL. And I will just say that we want an API key. I don't want to have behind any authentication wall, but you can use Cognito, for example. So I'll just create a model. And we can see here that I'm writing a menu because we're doing a restaurant menu. I put a description of the food item and the price, something very similar. And then here you can create multiple different models and combine them using relationships. So this is a very complete thing. You can play a lot with it, but I just wanted to create something small. You can also decide what kind of type is this. So all of these will create AWS infrastructure just with a visual tool. So then we save and we move forward. When we save, it will ask us if we want to deploy, and we will say yes. And if we click there in deploying, we will start seeing the CloudFront stack, CloudFormation stacks that is happening. We don't need to do much with it. It just will do it. And when it's completed, it will tell us that the deployment is successful. So I will speed this forward until the deployment is successful so we can see what happened. So if we want to start using it, we just click on the local setup instructions. A pop-up with instructions will appear, and they're super useful, those instructions, so we can follow them, and that will make the application connected to this backend. So the first thing is to pull the whole backend that we just created into our front-end project. In this case, it's a React application. So this computer doesn't have this user configured, so this Amplify pool and all this jiggerish will just pull the whole information without having the profile set up in this computer. And you will see that the first thing that this does is start popping up a browser that says I want to log in to the Amplify CLI, and I need to be logged in to the user that I just was using the admin UI, so then that will verify that I am I am myself. I just have not stolen this code, and I can proceed. So basically, when that's completed, then you will go through the configuration process of Amplify. What kind of project is this, and all of those things. We just go with all the defaults, and we wait until the whole backend is fetched. Then we can see in the side that a couple of folders have been pulled, the Amplify folders, the model folders, and the AWS export.js files. These are Amplify configuration files. Amplify has all the backend information, the models has all the GraphQL models and TypeScript models, and the app AWS exports has the configuration for our AWS backend. So we are ready now. I go to the app.js, and that's where I have my application, and you will see this is a super simple application, just displaying a menu. And the first thing I will do is whenever the application load is to get from the data store the menu. And this is using the data store feature. That is a new feature, well, not that new, was launched like in July last year from Amplify. If you want me to talk about the data store feature, let me know. I can make a video about it. It's super useful for offline and all kind of things. So if we go back to the AdminUI, we can see in the query, in the local setup instructions, we go to the model menu, and then we select the operation query, and there we can see that there is some instructions on how to get those models. So we need to import a couple of libraries that I already have imported, and then we need to basically call that data store model, and that should bring the whole menus in this case. Then I set the state, and then we can basically start this application because my menu list is already configured with this type that will show the description, and it will show the price of the list of items. So now we run npm start, we start this locally, and then we can play a little bit with this model. So if I open the local host, then I can see that my place says the full stack pancakes and it's empty. So we need to add some content. There is no content management in the application itself. So we will use the AdminUI content manager for adding those elements in our menu. So we go back to the AdminUI, and then we go to the content manage their part, and we can start adding and creating menu elements. So that's pretty neat. And this is super helpful for the cases that we don't want to implement the content management. We want to add content, and it's so easy to do it from here. How many times it happens that you just need to write a whole application just to be able to manage the content. So this is super useful for blogs and for personal websites, for all kind of prototypes, for small websites like menus in restaurants. You can give permissions to your users to just be able to add content, and they cannot do anything else. So I added a couple of items in our menu, and then if I go back to the full stack pancake page and reload, then you can see that. If I inspect this application and I go to the application, there you will see that I have a little database in the storage. It's a local storage, and there you will see that there is this menu, and this menu has these two items. So if I will be offline, I will still see these items. And if this was an application that, I don't know, was creating tasks, I can create them all offline, and then when the connection comes, then they will sync in the background and it will upload the task to the internet. So it does a lot of the conflict resolution as well. So that's for another video if you're interested in. So that's it today for AdminUI. It's a short video, but I wanted to show you this feature. If you want me to go more in depth on building a demo with AdminUI, explaining the data store or all kind of things, let me know in the comments or with a like. If I get a lot of likes, I will do more on this topic. And thank you for watching, and I see you in the next episode of FooBar. Ciao, ciao!